Why did my ex-husband try to stop his own wedding the moment he saw me? My ex-husband left me after 11 years of marriage because he said I wasn't exciting anymore. Those were his exact words. He said he loved me, but he wasn't in love with me. He said I had become predictable and boring, and he needed something more out of life. I was 34 years old and had spent my entire adult life building a home with this man. I put him through graduate school by working double shifts at a restaurant. I supported him through 3 different career changes. I moved to 4 different cities because his jobs kept relocating us. And after all of that, he sat me down one evening and told me he had met someone else. Her name was Brooke. She was 26 years old and worked at the gym. He said it just happened and he couldn't control his feelings. He said he hoped we could still be friends because I was such an important part of his life. The divorce was final 8 months later. He got the house because his name was on the mortgage even though I paid half of it for years. I got a small settlement that barely covered my moving costs. I started over completely at 35 with nothing but a suitcase and the cooking skills I had picked up working in restaurants for over a decade. I moved back to my hometown and got a job at a local catering company. Within 2 years, I had saved enough to start my own business. I worked every weekend, every holiday, every event I could book. I built a reputation for quality food and reliable service. By year 3, I had a small team and a client list that kept growing. I was proud of what I created from nothing. Then one afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was my ex-husband. He said he heard through mutual friends that I started a catering business. He said he always knew I was talented in the kitchen. Then he asked if I was available to cater a wedding in June. I asked whose wedding. He said his. He was marrying Brooke and they wanted the best caterer in the area and everyone kept recommending my company. He said it would mean so much to both of them if I could be part of their special day. He said Brooke specifically loved the menu samples she saw online and really wanted my food at her wedding. I sat there listening to this man ask me to cook for the woman he left me for. He didn't see anything strange about it. He talked about it like he was asking an old friend for a favor. He said he knew we had history, but we were both adults, and he hoped I had moved on by now just like he had. He even asked if I could give him a discount since we used to be family. I said yes. I don't know why I said yes. Maybe I wanted to prove I was over it. Maybe I wanted to see their faces when they realized how well I was doing. Maybe I just wanted the money because weddings pay well and business is business. I spent 3 months planning their menu. I coordinated with their venue and their planner and made sure every detail was perfect. I never spoke to Brooke directly. She sent requests through my ex-husband and he would relay them to me like I was some kind of assistant. She wanted a 5-course meal. She wanted a raw bar and a pasta station and a dessert table with 7 different options. She wanted everything to be elegant but not too formal. My ex-husband called me twice a week with updates and changes and new demands. He always ended the calls by saying how grateful he was that I was being so mature about everything. The wedding day came in early June. I arrived at the venue with my team at noon to start setting up. The ceremony wasn't until 5, so we had plenty of time. I was in the kitchen organizing stations when my ex-husband walked in. He stopped in the doorway and just stared at me. I was wearing my chef coat and had my hair pulled back and was holding a clipboard going over the timeline with my sous chef. He didn't say anything for a long moment. Then he said I looked really good. He said the business must be treating me well. He asked if I was seeing anyone. I told him that wasn't his concern and got back to work. The ceremony started on time. I watched from the kitchen window as 200 guests took their seats in the garden. The music started and Brooke walked down the aisle in a big white dress that probably cost more than my first car. My ex-husband stood at the altar waiting for her. He looked nervous, but everyone looks nervous at weddings. Then right before the officiant started speaking, my ex-husband looked toward the building, toward the kitchen, toward the window where I was standing. Our eyes met for just a second. The officiant asked if anyone had any objections. My ex-husband didn't say anything, but he didn't look away from me either. The ceremony freezes in this awful moment where my ex-husband is staring at me instead of his bride, and I can see Brooke's confusion turning to alarm as she follows his gaze toward the kitchen window where I'm standing. I step back from the window immediately, my heart pounding, while Peyton grabs my arm and whispers that we need to focus on the food stations. The officiant clears his throat and repeats the question about objections, and I hear my ex-husband say, before trailing off into silence that makes 200 guests shift uncomfortably in their seats. Through the kitchen side door, I can see Grayson, the best man, lean in to whisper something urgent while Brooke's face goes pale under her makeup. I force myself to turn away from the ceremony chaos and focus on the pasta station setup, but my hands are shaking so badly that Peyton takes the serving spoons from me and tells me to check on the dessert table instead. The ceremony music has stopped completely, and I can hear confused murmuring from the guests drifting through the open windows. I walk to the far end of the kitchen where the dessert table is set up, counting the 7 different options we prepared, making sure each one is positioned correctly. My hands won't stop shaking. I pick up a serving knife and put it down 3 times because I can't get it straight. Peyton appears beside me and takes the knife gently, setting it in place herself. She doesn't say anything, but her eyes are worried. Lena, the wedding planner, bursts into the kitchen looking frantic, asking if we can delay the cocktail hour because there's a situation with the ceremony that needs a few minutes to resolve. I tell her we can hold the hot appetizers, but the cold items are already plated, and the timing will be off if we wait too long. She nods quickly and disappears back outside. I can hear voices rising in the garden, not quite shouting, but loud enough to carry through the walls. 10 minutes pass with no ceremony conclusion, and through the window I watch guests starting to stand up and mill around awkwardly, while Brooke and my ex-husband have what looks like an intense whispered argument near the altar. Nora, the maid of honor, has her arm around Brooke while Grayson is physically positioned between my ex-husband and the aisle like he's preventing an escape. The photographer has stopped taking pictures and is standing off to the side looking confused. Some guests are checking their phones. Others are whispering to each other with worried expressions. begins. Rajesh, the venue coordinator, comes to tell me that the ceremony is taking a brief intermission and asks if we can serve the cocktail hour appetizers early to give guests something to do. I agree and send my team out with trays of food, grateful for the distraction of logistics, even as my mind races with what's happening outside. My staff moves efficiently, carrying out the crab cakes and stuffed mushrooms and bacon-wrapped dates we prepared. I watch them navigate through the confused crowd of wedding guests who seem relieved to have something to focus on, besides the drama at the altar. My ex-husband appears in the kitchen doorway still in his tuxedo, his face flushed and desperate, and says he needs to talk to me right now. Peyton immediately steps between us and tells him this is a professional kitchen during an active event, and he needs to leave. But he's staring at me with an expression I haven't seen since our early dating years. His eyes are wide and pleading. His hair is messed up like he's been running his hands through it. He looks younger somehow, vulnerable in a way that reminds me of when we first met. I tell Peyton it's fine and step outside with him to the service hallway, where he immediately starts apologizing and saying he made a terrible mistake, and seeing me today made him realize what he gave up. His words tumble out in a rush about how I look confident and successful, and he remembers why he fell in love with me, and I feel absolutely nothing except a strange, detached clarity. I watch him talk, and it's like watching a stranger, someone I used to know a long time ago. I cut him off and ask if he's seriously doing this on his wedding day, in his wedding tuxedo, while his bride waits at the altar and 200 guests eat the appetizers I prepared. He says he knows the timing is awful, but he couldn't say his vows while looking at me through that window, couldn't promise forever to Brooke when he just realized he still has feelings for me. I tell him he doesn't have feelings for me. He has feelings about me succeeding without him after he expected me to fall apart. He looks stunned and starts to argue, but I keep talking, saying he loved the version of me who supported his dreams and moved for his jobs, and made myself smaller, so he could feel bigger. He reaches for my hand, but I step back fast. I tell him I'm here as the caterer he hired, not his ex-wife ready to fix whatever mess he's making of his life. I say I have 200 people waiting for a 5-course meal, and a team whose timing is already messed up because he decided to have a breakdown at his own altar. I tell him he needs to figure out what he's doing about his wedding right now, because every minute he stands here talking to me is another minute my scallops sit getting warm, and my pasta water boils too long. He opens his mouth to say something else, but Lena appears at the end of the hallway looking completely panicked. She says Brooke is having a total breakdown in the bridal suite, and demanding to know why the ceremony stopped and what's happening and whether he's actually going to marry her. My ex-husband looks between me and Lena with this expression like a trapped animal. I tell him he made this situation, and he needs to handle it without dragging me into it anymore. I walk past both of them back into the kitchen where my team is standing around looking worried. Peyton catches my arm and asks if I'm okay. I realize I actually am okay. His desperate confession in the hallway didn't make me feel happy or sad or anything except tired. Tired of being part of whatever drama he creates for himself. Tired of him treating me like I'm supposed to fix his feelings or validate his choices. I tell Peyton I'm fine and we need to focus on the timeline. I tell my whole team we're moving forward with service as planned no matter what happens with the ceremony because we have a contract and a reputation. They all nod and get back to their stations. I check the scallops and they're still good. I adjust the pasta water temperature. I review the plating setup for appetizers. 20 minutes go by with voices carrying from other parts of the venue, but nothing clear enough to understand. Then Lena comes back looking exhausted and says the ceremony is continuing and we should be ready for the original reception timeline. I nod without asking what happened or how they fixed it. I don't want to know. I tell my team 12 minutes until we need to start plating the scallop appetizers. Through the kitchen window, I watch the ceremony conclude. My ex-husband and Brooke walk down the aisle together holding hands and smiling, but their smiles look wrong, too tight, too forced, like they're both pretending really hard that everything is fine. The guests clap and take pictures, but I can see people whispering to each other. The ceremony moves to cocktail hour, and guests start spreading out across the patio area. I'm arranging garnishes on appetizer plates when someone walks into the kitchen. It's a woman in a deep purple bridesmaid dress. She introduces herself as Nora and says she's the maid of honor. She asks if she can talk to me directly about something. I wipe my hands on my apron and step aside from the plating station. Nora asks straight out if I'm the ex-wife, the one her best friend has been obsessing over for months. The successful caterer Brooke insisted on hiring even though my prices were higher than other companies. I confirm that yes, I'm the ex-wife. Nora's whole face changes like something just clicked into place for her. She says that explains so much about how Brooke has been acting. She tells me Brooke has been competitive and anxious about me through their entire relationship, constantly comparing herself to the boring wife he left behind, always asking him questions about what I was like and what we did together, and whether he ever thinks about me. Nora says seeing my success in my business threatened whatever story Brooke had built in her head about why she was the better choice. I listen without interrupting. Nora keeps talking and says Brooke specifically chose my company after looking at my website and social media. She wanted to prove she could afford the best. Wanted to show my ex-husband she was more sophisticated and successful than his previous life with me. I realized right then that this whole wedding was never actually about wanting my food. It was about Brooke trying to prove she was superior to me by hiring me to work for her, by making me serve her at her wedding to my ex-husband. Nora watches my face and seems to understand what I'm thinking. I tell her I appreciate the context, but I'm here to do my job no matter what the psychological reasons are behind it. Nora nods but says I should know that Brooke is currently in the bridal suite, demanding my ex-husband explain why he hesitated during the vows, why he looked at the kitchen instead of at her. Nora adds that she's been watching their relationship for 2 years now, and she has serious doubts about whether either of them actually wants this marriage, or if they're both just trying to prove something. I thank her for telling me but say I need to get back to service. The reception starts and I focus completely on executing every course perfectly. My team sends out the raw bar station with oysters and shrimp and crab legs arranged on ice. The pasta station goes up with 3 different sauces and fresh bread. I monitor timing for the main course and make sure everything is coordinated. My staff moves efficiently between kitchen and reception hall. Peyton gives me a look that says we're doing great work despite everything. I hear toasts starting in the reception hall, voices carrying through the pass-through window, but I don't stop to listen. I plate filet mignon with truffle butter and roasted vegetables. I check each plate before it goes out. I feel genuine pride in how professional we're being, even with all this personal chaos swirling around us. Between courses, a man in a dark suit walks into the kitchen. He introduces himself as Grayson and says he's the best man. He asks if he can talk to me for a minute about what happened during